Before the British East India Company conquered Bengal in 1757, the region was one of the wealthiest and most industrialized economies in the world. Long before the Industrial Revolution transformed Europe, Bengal had already emerged as a global center of manufacturing, agriculture, trade and finance. In the early 18th century, Bengal was the richest province of the Mughal Empire. Economic historians estimate that Bengal alone contributed nearly 12% of global GDP, despite accounting for less than 4% of the world's population. The province generated such enormous wealth that it became the economic backbone of the Mughal Empire. At a time when most European nations were still largely agrarian, Bengal had developed a sophisticated economy based on agriculture, industry, international trade, and banking. Land, wheat, indigo, oilseeds, agriculture. The secret of Bengal's prosperity began with geography. The fertile Ganga-Brahmaputra Delta created one of the most productive agricultural zones in the world. Rich alluvial soil, abundant water, and an extensive river network allowed farmers to produce surplus crops year after year. Rice was the dominant crop, but Bengal also produced sugarcane, cotton, wheat, indigo, and oilseeds. Agricultural productivity was so high that the region became known as the breadbasket of eastern India. Strong harvests sustained a large population and supplied raw materials for industries and exports. But agriculture was only one part of Bengal's success story. The true driver of Bengal's wealth was manufacturing. Centuries before modern factories appeared in Europe, Bengal had developed a vast textile industry, employing thousands of artisans, weavers, and merchants. Bengal's cotton textiles, silk fabrics, and muslin cloth were exported across Asia, Africa, and Europe. The province became the world's leading producer of fine cotton textiles. Dhaka muslin, famous for its extraordinary softness and fineness, became a luxury product sought by emperors, aristocrats, and royal families across the globe. Historians estimate that Bengal's textile industry accounted for roughly 25% of the global textile trade during the early 18th century. Bengal's textile exports alone made up approximately 60% of British imports from Asia before British political domination. European demand for Bengali textiles was immense. British merchants purchased Bengal's cotton fabrics in huge quantities and resold them across Europe. Dutch traders relied heavily on Bengal as well. Historical records show that Bengal supplied around 40% of all Dutch imports from Asia, including more than half of the textiles imported by the Dutch East India Company and nearly 80% of its silk imports. The textile industry was concentrated around major centers such as Dhaka, Murshidabad, and Qasim Bazar. Entire villages specialized in spinning, weaving, dyeing, and finishing cloth. These production networks functioned like proto-industrial systems centuries before mechanized factories emerged in Britain. Silk production was another pillar of Bengal's economy. Murshidabad became one of Asia's most important silk-producing centers. Bengal silk competed directly with Chinese silk in international markets and was exported in large quantities to Europe and Japan. Raw silk and finished silk products generated enormous export earnings and enhanced Bengal's reputation as a manufacturing powerhouse. Beyond textiles and silk, Bengal dominated several other export industries. The province was one of the world's largest suppliers of saltpeter, a critical ingredient used in gunpowder. European powders depended heavily on Bengal's saltpeter to support their military campaigns. Indigo dye, rice, sugar, spices and handicrafts were also exported in large volumes. These exports generated a constant flow of wealth into the province. Bengal was not simply producing goods, it was connected to global markets. Its ports linked India to Southeast Asia, the Middle East, China and Europe. Merchants from Britain, France, Portugal, the Netherlands, Armenia and Arabia established trading centers in Bengal to access its lucrative markets. The ports of Hooghly, Chittagong and Dhaka became major hubs of international commerce. Ships loaded with Bengal's products sailed to Europe, Indonesia, Japan and other parts of Asia. Bengal was truly integrated into the global economy centuries before globalization became a modern concept. One remarkable feature of Bengal's economy was its trade surplus. Europe had little that Bengal needed. As a result, European traders often paid for Bengal's goods with silver and gold bullion. Historians note that Mughal India, particularly Bengal, attracted large quantities of precious metals from Europe because the demand for Indian goods far exceeded the demand for European products. This steady inflow of silver strengthened Bengal's monetary system and increased its wealth. Bengal was also a major center of shipbuilding. Economic historian Indrajit Ray estimates that Bengal's annual shipbuilding output during the 17th and 18th centuries reached approximately 223,000 tons, nearly 10 times greater than the combined shipbuilding output of Britain's North American colonies during a comparable period. Ships built in Bengal were used for trade, transportation and naval purposes across the Indian Ocean world. A sophisticated banking system further supported Bengal's commercial success. Merchant bankers developed advanced financial instruments known as unveils, which functioned much like modern bills of exchange. These instruments enabled merchants to transfer money securely across vast distances without carrying large quantities of cash. Powerful banking families, including the Jagat Seths, managed enormous financial networks that extended across the Indian subcontinent. Their wealth and influence rivaled some of the largest banking institutions in Europe. The wealth generated by agriculture, industry and trade transformed Bengal's cities. Murshidabad, the capital of the Nawabs of Bengal, became one of the richest cities in Asia. Contemporary observers frequently compared its wealth and commercial activity with major European capitals. Dhaka emerged as a globally renowned textile center, while Hooghly became one of the busiest trading ports in the region. Merchants from different nations, religions, and cultures interacted daily in these thriving urban centers. By the middle of the 18th century, Bengal represented one of the world's most prosperous regional economies. It was a land where fertile agriculture produced abundant surpluses, where skilled artisans manufactured luxury goods for global markets, where merchants managed vast trading networks, and where sophisticated financial institutions facilitated commerce. This immense prosperity explains why Bengal became the primary target of European colonial ambitions. When the British East India Company defeated Nawab Siraj-ud-Dowlah at the Battle of Plassey in 1757, it was not conquering a poor territory. It was taking control of one of the richest economic regions on earth. The wealth of Bengal financed the expansion of British power in India and contributed significantly to Britain's rise as a global imperial power. Before colonial rule, Bengal was not merely an Indian province, it was a global economic giant. With nearly 12% of world GDP, dominance in textile exports, a thriving banking sector, advanced manufacturing and extensive international trade networks, Bengal stood amongst the most prosperous regions of the 18th century world. Its story remains one of the most remarkable examples of economic success in pre-industrial history.